Today we are going to be taking a look at the rankings over in the Asia server because there's some pretty interesting stuff going on. You'll notice that the top two decks are both using TIPHERA as the main DPS, and these are actually two completely different builds, which I think is really cool, especially the second one, because this second one is E0. Like, you don't need any sort of dupes on your TIPHERA, and it's doable. And then the first one is E6. And like again, they're two completely different decks. We'll go over both of them. I don't have an Asia server account. I actually probably should make one. But I had got some screenshots from some very nice people in the Discord. And, well, E6 TIPHERA is going first. So if you're going to try and get your E6 TIPHERA, then the best way to do that is to get discounts at lootbar.gg. No matter what you're looking to pick up, Lootbar provides it fast, secure, and at a more affordable price, with 24/7 customer service and refunds guaranteed. If you haven't gotten your double crystals yet, buying it on Lootbar can save you up to $30 if it's your first purchase. Lootbar has been providing deals for games for years, giving them over 30,000 reviews on Trustpilot with an average rating of 4.9. New users can currently get 2 coupons for an additional 12% and 8% off their purchases, so make sure to click on the link below and sign up now. So let's talk about the Rank 2 deck first. I think this one's just a lot more interesting, honestly. This is, again, an E0 TIPHERA deck, and we're not going to look at Juhan's version first. We're going to look at the person all the way down in rank 6, 1359. They were the first person that posted this comp and hit a really high score with it. This was them when they originally posted it. They're down in rank 6 now, but this is their TIPHERA, and you can see as the primary DPS, it's got Creation and Destruction with the RNG cost 1, and that's just because when you roll 8 or a 9, the base value of this just gets so ridiculously high, and you'll just do a billion damage. You'll notice that with the event horizon, it's 0 out of 3, which confirms that it is a E0 TIPHERA. And then you have the usual 1 AP Divine Draw Quantum Seed. The one for all is just here to activate your Creation Instruction for free, pretty much. It only happens once. And then let's take a look at all of the decks before we talk about the setup. Veronica here, Repose, Divine, 1 AP, and for this person you also notice their Veronica's E0 too, because the reload is only 2 from the Bombardment prep. And they removed all of the other cards just to thin out the deck, pretty much. They're maxed out on Faint Memory, and it seems like they don't really need the extra draw, so they took out Kowalski too. And then Bombardment prep is just here to thin out the deck. Firing Preparation, this actually doesn't get played, because the Ballistas will take up space in your hand, and you really don't want that. You need all of the space in your hand for this setup. To get rid of it, they decided to use Nutrient Absorption instead. They just select and exhaust the Firing Preparation, and then they get a free draw out of it too. But the interesting thing about the Aurelia is the way that they have her built, because this is using Will of Light. Most Aurelias that you see, at least on global server, are all duping the growth acceleration, because you get the Softy 3, 35% damage on the retain, you play the growth acceleration, you retain twice, so it's 70% damage boost each time you play the card, plus you can get a divine draw on it. Really nice. But this is a completely different setup, because if I go back to it here, if you have, let's say, 6 softies in your hand, and then you play a Will of Light, that's 6 retain activations as opposed to just the 2 from the growth acceleration. So setup here is you create more softies using the 2-cost growth acceleration, and then you just spam your Will of Lights and just get a bunch of softy procs every single turn. This is 18 procs a turn, pretty much, just off of the Will of Lights alone. You have the Sacred Sensor to create a softy, and then the RNG creation, you probably want to do this while your hand is full. That way, if in case you roll a damage one, it just wouldn't appear. So that's the general idea, and it makes sense, right? You have the big nuke from the TIPHERA 9-cost, and you just stack up as much of the softy retains as you can, and then you just do a big hit at the very end. There is a question to be answered, though, is how do we kill the hands? Because you have to kill the hands to be able to kill the head. You use One for All at the start. I would assume that they, play their Bombardment prep, start stacking or start preparing some of the softy creation stuff, and then they use Creation Destruction, kill the hand once. And then on the next turn, at the very start of turn 2, this is kind of just guesswork, but it very likely works like this. you run a lower cost creation and destruction, not the full 9 cost, and then you don't kill the second hand, but you leave it very, very low HP. Because if you kill the hand, you only have a couple of turns to actually hit the head. So instead you leave it really low HP, and then you'll kill it on like the 9th turn or something, so that you can hit it on the... so you can hit the head on the 10th turn. And then we now have the question, how do you kill the hand without activating your softy damage boost? Because you want to keep it for your 9 cost, right? And same thing with your archetype triangle, you don't want to use that up either. The way that probably works is Noelle, because if you go to the partner shop for Noelle, which is Orlia's partner, you deal fixed damage to all enemies equal to 15% of each retained card of the assigned combatant. So this is dealing a bit of fixed damage every single turn, and if you tune it properly, this is probably how they're killing the hand, because the fixed damage isn't... fixed damage doesn't proc the what is it? It's not gonna use up your damage boost. So you have to kind of chip away with the fixed damage. That is like gear and tuning related. One other thing I was kind of looking at when I was looking at this build was she does have this very funny card that nobody uses, 40% fixed damage for each card in hand. It's kind of a brick because it does like... it's one more card you have to draw into and it can prevent you from cycling, but I guess this is technically doing damage, and if this like reads properly, it's fixed damage, so it shouldn't... the fixed damage really shouldn't, like... the fixed damage shouldn't proc your damage boost, supposedly. I haven't actually tested it, but in theory, it shouldn't use up your damage boost. Some other, like, stuff is... I'm pretty sure Veronica's pendant can get the agony neutral epiphany, so that could be a little bit of damage. Either way, the general idea goes that you need to kill the hand without using up the I'm trying to swap my screen. Without using up the damage boost, and then you do the giant nuke at the very, very end. So it kind of makes sense. And this guy did record his run, so we can take a look at it real quick. It's blurry. I don't know how to increase the quality on this. This is all in Chinese. So this is an 8 cost, and he goes for the attack, and he doesn't crit, but you can see even on the missed crit, that is 1.5 million damage, and his score was almost 1.2 million. So he rewinds with the sand. And this is pretty far into the run, so it does take a little while. And then he plays the extra repose. This is just to change the RNG pretty much, and he goes for the crit fish again, and he misses another crit, so you rewind again. And this is where you can see the RNG is like... if you miss your crits, it's very, very sad. It's still a lot of damage, it's not good enough for front page, right? Here he gets really lucky, because the softies, when you exhaust them, it changes the cost of this. He rolled into a 9, which is pretty much insane RNG. And then he gets the crit. It does 4.6 million damage in a single hit and instantly gets you to the 1.359. So that is kind of crazy. And this is like really RNG, because if he missed crit there and he plays another softie, it's going to change the cost of the CND again. So he pretty much has to like hope that he hits another 8 or a 9 while rolling down these. But yeah, crazy setup. I'm not sure if this was the person who like initially came up with it, but he was the first person to place really high on it, and it looks very, very funny. So now, let's take a look at the rank 2's deck, which I think is this person's. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so this is the rank 2's deck. We'll see what sort of differences they have. The draw 1 AP thing is still here. Same Quantum Seed. They're using a gear bag for extra draw and AP on the first turn. They kept their dual creation. I guess there's really like no reason to not keep this if you have the draw necessary for your first turn, because it will just give you extra archetype cards and they go into your hand, so it's not going to mess you up or anything. Potentially the AP could be useful to carry over to the next turn if you really need it. Of course, though, we can't see their divines because I don't have an account on Asia. I'll start working on one. Another thing they kept was they kept their form convergence, and they kept the exhaust one. So select an exhaust of 3 cards from all cards, and reduce the cost of this card by 1 from the Divine, because they only have 3 copies, so they can fit it. This is used for something else that is interesting, but you could also use this to exhaust contaminates, and you get free draw from it, pretty much. You have to exhaust at least 1 to go neutral. Again, this is the E0 to Terra, same thing, 0 out of 3. And then the RNG, C, and D. Taking a look at the Veronica, they took out their Ballista, they naturally removed it, so an extra -20, which is why they only have 3 reposes here. And they kept Kowalski, and they picked up an Ebony Lumen instead. So that's what this is exhausting, I guess. You're exhausting this, you get the draw 3, and you create 1 broken one, and you just get a bunch of draw out of it for free, especially on the very start of your turns, and AP on your next turns. It's pretty basic Veronica stuff. It's just the Ebony Lumen synergizing with the form convergence, and they just removed the Ballista naturally instead of using the nutrient thing to remove it. And then we have Orlia. This time they picked up 4 Will of Light. The one with all is on the Orlia instead of the TIPHERA, and they have the same stuff pretty much. So this is roughly the same thing, just a bit better optimized. The Will of Light does add a bit more RNG into your hand, I think, because there's a higher chance that you don't draw your entire hand. I'm not sure whether or not, like... Yeah, because you have... The previous guy setup was very, very low chance that you brick your hand, but it's already RNG anyways, so you might as well go for maximum damage, and that's why this guy is rank 2 right now. So we already went over everything, it's pretty much the same thing, so let's take a look at the rank 1 guy instead. So the rank 1 guy, this is E6. He has 2 creation instructions. These are 0 cost, or these will be 0 cost because you'll just play your archetypes and you'll hit 0. And then you have the RNG one. The RNG one's over here. This is the RNG one. So the way this probably works is because at E6 you keep your archetype damage boosts the whole time. Kill one hand, kill the other, hit the head, and you just play the 9 cost every single turn, is how I expect this goes. He has the dual creation that creates 1 of every single archetype card, which is kind of funny. Once you finish stacking up your triangles to max, there's really no reason to keep on creating them, and you can just create AP every single turn. Besides that, his Orlia, the standard growth acceleration duping one, you hit your softies, get a bunch of damage boost for the head hit, and then the 2 vulnerable to all allies. Because this deck isn't something that I've actually like seen, I would assume that the hands have enough. Actually, okay, he has 2 vulnerables here, so one of them, you'll notice he has 2 different epiphanies on them. One of them is just, this one costs 1 extra AP. In exchange, he can vulnerable the hands once, and then hit them with the 5 or the 0 costs, and then vulnerable the head, and then hit it with the big 9. So this is the standard Orlia deck, and then the Veronica is also really basic, really thin deck. There's 20 points left to work with, but he doesn't really need them. He's got 3 Divine Reposes, and then the Bombardment, and yeah, not too much to say about it. This one is a lot simpler than the other one, I think. This does need E6 because you need to keep your damage boost, but you just kill one hand, kill the other, and then nuke the head, and you do it every single turn. So that is all of the stuff from Asia server. I think it's really cool that it's 2 completely different decks at 1 and 2. The really, really heavy RNG, because not only do you have to crit fish, you have to roll the 9s, but pretty cool stuff, and I think it's interesting that TIPHERA has ended up becoming the best DPS, or at least a better DPS than 9. People with K-Ron are having struggles because of various reasons, which the TIPHERA decks are cool, even if they're really high RNG.